Jack Mason stood tall as the transport ship landed on the red soil of Varkos. The air felt thick and warm in his lungs. 6 months of space travel had led to this moment. As a former Navy SEAL turned diplomat, Jack was ready for anything. Or, so he thought. "Remember, we're guests here," Commander Diane Peters said quietly beside him. "The Varkosians agreed to this meeting after years of watching us from afar. Don't mess it up." Jack nodded. He knew the stakes. Humans needed allies in this part of the galaxy. The Varkosians were known for their fighting skills and advanced weapons. An alliance with them would help Earth greatly. The ship's door opened, with a soft hiss. Jack blinked in the bright sunlight. Before him stood a group of tall, blue-skinned beings. Each Varkosian was at least 7 feet tall. Their skin looked like polished blue stone with patches of darker blue. They had 4 arms and eyes that shined like gold coins. The tallest Varkosian stepped forward. Gold bands wrapped around his upper arms. A large spear rested in his lower right hand. "I am High Chieftain Vortak of the Varkos people," he said, in perfect English. "We welcome the humans to our world." Jack stepped forward as practiced. "High Chieftain, I am Jack Mason of Earth. We are honored by your welcome and hope for friendship between our worlds." The chieftain nodded slowly. "Come, we have prepared the ceremony of new friends. It is our oldest tradition for meeting new races." The human team followed the Varkosians toward a large stone building. Jack felt eyes watching him. He looked to his left and saw a female Varkosian glaring at him. She stood slightly apart from the others. Her blue skin had swirling patterns, unlike the others. Her forearms were muscled and strong. "Who is that?" Jack whispered to Diane. "Caritha, the chieftain's daughter," Diane said. "Our reports say she leads their elite warriors, and she doesn't seem happy we're here." Jack tried to smile at Caritha, but she turned away with what looked like disgust. The inside of the stone building felt cool after the hot sun. A large circle was drawn on the floor. Varkosians stood all around it, watching silently. "The ceremony is simple," the chieftain explained. "We share food, drink, and stories. Then we display our weapons as a sign of trust." The ceremony began. Jack sat cross-legged in the circle, eating strange fruits and drinking a sweet blue liquid. The Varkosians told stories of great battles. Jack shared tales of Earth's oceans and mountains. Throughout it all, Caritha watched him with narrow eyes. She sat at her father's right side, her back straight, her face showing nothing but distrust. After the food and stories, the chieftain stood. "Now we show our weapons, but do not use them. This shows we trust each other." The Varkosians brought out their weapons. Jack saw spears, curved blades, and strange devices that hummed with energy. The humans showed their standard-issue laser pistols, careful to keep them powered down. The chieftain raised his hands. "We have one final act. My daughter, Caritha, will perform the dance of peaceful intent with our most sacred spear." Caritha stood and took a long golden spear from an older Varkosian. She stepped into the center of the circle. For a moment, she stood perfectly still. Then she began to move. Jack had to admit it was beautiful. She spun the spear around her body, moving with grace and power. All 4 of her arms controlled the weapon as if it were part of her. The spear caught the light, leaving golden trails in the air. But as she danced closer to where Jack sat, he saw her eyes. They were full of anger. Something wasn't right. The dance grew faster. Caritha spun and leaped, the spear moving like lightning. The other Varkosians watched with pride. The humans seemed amazed, but Jack's instincts screamed danger. It happened in a flash. Caritha made one final spin and then, with perfect aim, she threw the sacred spear directly at Jack's heart. Time seemed to slow down. Jack saw the spear coming. His SEAL training took over. Without thinking, he stood and reached out. His hand closed around the spear's shaft, stopping it just inches from his chest. The room went completely silent. Jack stood there, holding the golden spear, not sure what had just happened. Had he broken some rule? Was this part of the ceremony? The chieftain's laugh broke the silence. It was a deep, booming sound that echoed off the stone walls. "By the stars," the chieftain said, still laughing. "In all my years, I never thought I would see this day." Caritha looked shocked. Her golden eyes were wide, her mouth open in disbelief. "What just happened?" Jack asked, still holding the spear. The chieftain walked toward him, smiling widely. "You have caught my daughter's spear in the sacred circle. According to the ancient law of Jarektai, you have claimed her as your life mate." Jack felt his stomach drop. "My what? Your life mate? I believe humans call it wife?" The chieftain put one hand on Jack's shoulder and one on his daughter's. "This is a great thing. Our peoples will be bound by family now." Caritha found her voice. "Father, this cannot be. He is not even Varkosian. Surely the ancient laws do not apply to aliens." The chieftain's face grew serious. "The laws are clear, daughter. They have stood for 10,000 years. If a warrior throws the sacred spear and someone catches it, they are bound by fate. It does not matter who or what they are." Caritha looked at Jack with pure hatred. "I will not accept this." Jack carefully handed the spear to the chieftain. "Sir, there must be some mistake. I didn't know what catching the spear meant." The chieftain shook his head. "Ignorance of the law does not change the law. The ceremony is complete. You and Caritha are now bound." Diane stepped forward. "Hi, chieftain, perhaps we can discuss this further? Our people have different customs." "Of course," the chieftain said. "But the law is sacred. Breaking it would be—" He paused, looking troubled. "Let us say it would end our talks before they begin." Jack looked at Caritha. She looked ready to kill him. He looked at Diane, who gave him a small shrug that clearly meant, "Don't mess this up." The chieftain raised his arms. "Today is a great day. Let us prepare for the binding ceremony." As the Varkosians began talking excitedly, Jack felt like the floor had dropped from under him. He had come to Varkos to help form an alliance. Instead, he had somehow gotten himself engaged to an alien warrior who had just tried to kill him. And, from the look in Caritha's eyes, she might try again very soon. The singing sands lived up to their name. As Jack and Caritha walked across the vast desert, the wind pushed the red sand across the dunes, creating an eerie melody that seemed to follow them. "It sounds almost like voices," Jack said, wiping sweat from his forehead. The twin suns beat down mercilessly. "The old stories say they are the voices of those who died here," Caritha replied. She walked ahead of him, her forearms swinging in a smooth rhythm. "They warn travelers of danger." "That's comforting." Jack adjusted his pack. They had been walking since dawn and his legs ached. But he wouldn't complain. Not when Caritha showed no signs of tiring. Around midday, they stopped in the shadow of a large dune. Caritha took out a round fruit from her pack and cut it with her small blade. The inside was bright purple and dripped with juice. "Eat," she said, handing half to Jack. "It will help with the heat." Jack took a bite. The fruit was sweet and tangy, and instantly made him feel cooler. "This is good. What's it called?" "Nari fruit. It grows only in the royal gardens." Caritha watched him eat. "My father must have packed it for us. He really wants this bond to work." Jack finished the fruit and wiped his hands on his pants. "Why did you throw the spear at me?" "The truth this time." Caritha was quiet for a moment. "I wanted to scare you. To show that humans aren't welcome here." She looked away. "Many of my people fear what an alliance with Earth might bring. New ideas. Changes to our ways." "Change isn't always bad," Jack said. "It is when it destroys what makes us who we are." Caritha stood up. "The Varkosian ways have kept us strong for thousands of years. We have never been conquered." As they continued walking, Jack thought about what she had said. He understood her fear. Earth had seen many cultures fade away as the world became more connected. But they had also seen new, stronger cultures form from the mixing of different peoples. The wind picked up as the afternoon wore on. The singing of the sands grew louder, more urgent. "We need to find shelter," Caritha said, looking at the sky. "A sandstorm is coming." Jack looked around at the endless dunes. Where? There's nothing here. Caritha pointed to a dark shape in the distance. There, it's an old temple. We can shelter there. They ran toward the temple as the wind grew stronger. Sand stung Jack's face and arms. By the time they reached the ancient stone building, the air was thick with swirling red sand. The temple was a single room with stone walls and a partially collapsed roof. Strange symbols were carved into the walls. Despite the heat outside, the air inside felt cool. What is this place? Jack asked, brushing sand from his clothes. A temple to Varath, the god of trials. Caritha ran her hand over the carved symbols. Our ancestors built these across Varkos. They are safe places for travelers. Jack sat down on a stone bench. So, the second trial is just walking across a desert? Caritha shook her head. The trials test different aspects of a bond. The first trial tests if we can survive together. The second tests if we can fight together. Fight what? As if answering his question, a low growl came from the back of the temple. In the shadows, something moved. Caritha drew her blade. Temple guardians. Spirit beasts bound to protect sacred places. From the darkness emerged a creature unlike anything Jack had seen. It looked like a mix between a lion and an insect. Its body was covered in hard plates and it had multiple glowing eyes. It snarled, showing rows of needle-like teeth. Jack drew his own knife. It felt small and useless against the monster before them. Any tips on fighting these things? Yes. Don't. D. Caritha moved into a fighting stance. Her forearms spread wide. The guardian charged. Caritha met it with a flurry of strikes from her blade. The creature howled but didn't slow down. Its tail whipped around, catching Caritha in the side and sending her crashing into a wall. Jack didn't think. He jumped on the creature's back, plunging his knife between its armored plates. The guardian bucked and twisted, trying to throw him off. Its claws left deep gouges in the stone floor. The eyes, Caritha shouted, getting back to her feet. Hit the center eye. Jack saw it, a larger eye in the middle of the others, glowing brighter. He pulled his knife free and aimed for that eye. But before he could strike, the guardian threw him off. He hit the ground hard, the air knocked from his lungs. The creature turned toward him, its many eyes fixed on him. It tensed, ready to pounce. Caritha moved faster than Jack thought possible. She leaped over him, all four arms working together. Her blade flashed, striking the center eye. The guardian let out a shriek that hurt Jack's ears. Then it collapsed, its body dissolving into glowing dust. Caritha helped Jack to his feet. You fought well. For a human. Jack smiled. You too. For someone who wanted me dead 2 days ago. To his surprise, Caritha almost smiled back. I never wanted you dead. Just gone. She paused. But perhaps having you here isn't as terrible as I thought. They spent the night in the temple, waiting for the sandstorm to pass. Caritha told Jack stories of Varkosian heroes and battles. Jack shared tales of Earth's oceans and forests, things Varkos didn't have. In the morning, they continued their journey. The final day of the first trial passed without incident. By sunset, they could see the lights of the city in the distance. We are way. Did it, Jack said. 1 trial down, 2 to go. Caritha nodded. The next will be harder. We must train as warriors together. They reached the city gates just as the twin moons of Varkos were rising. The chieftain was waiting for them, along with many other Varkosians. You have returned safely, the chieftain said, pride in his voice. The first trial is complete. That night there was a feast to celebrate. Jack sat beside Caritha at the high table. The food was strange but delicious. The Varkosians drank, a blue liquid that made Jack's head spin after just 1 sip. Your daughter is an amazing warrior, Jack told the chieftain. She saved my life in the temple. The chieftain nodded. And you saved hers from the rock beast. My scouts saw everything. He leaned closer to Jack. Perhaps there is hope for this bond after all. After the feast, Jack was shown to a new room. It was larger than before, with a balcony overlooking the city. As he stood there watching the alien city below, he heard the door open. Caritha walked, In, her steps silent. She joined him on the balcony. For a while they just stood there looking at the view. "Why did your people send a warrior to be a diplomat?" Caritha finally asked. "Because sometimes the best way to understand someone is to know how they fight," Jack replied. "SEALs are trained to adapt to any situation, any culture, to see patterns others miss." "And what patterns do you see here?" Jack turned to look at her. "I see a proud people who fear losing their identity. I see warriors who value honor above all else. I see a world of beauty and danger." He paused. "And I see a woman who would do anything to protect her people, even throw a spear at a stranger." Caritha's golden eyes studied him. "And I see a man who caught that spear, even though he didn't know what it meant." She stepped closer to him. "The second trial begins tomorrow. We will train together in the warrior's circle. It will be hard. Painful. I can handle pain. Can you handle victory? Because to pass this trial, we must defeat my father's best warriors. Together." Jack thought about it. He was good in a fight, but Varkosian fighting styles were completely different from Earth's. "We'll need to create a new way of fighting, something that combines your strengths with mine." For the first time, Caritha truly smiled. It transformed her face, making her look younger, less fierce. "Yes, that is exactly right. We must become something new together." The next morning, Jack met Caritha in a large, circular arena. Other Varkosians filled the seats around it. In the center was a raised platform covered in sand. Caritha wore light armor that left her arms free to move. She handed similar armor to Jack. "Put this on. It will protect your vital areas." As Jack donned the armor, he was surprised at how well it fit. "Was this made for me?" "Yes. My father ordered it after you caught the spear. He has been planning this all along." Caritha helped him adjust the straps. Her touch was gentle, despite her strong hands. "So he wanted us to bond?" "Why?" "He believes an alliance with Earth must be more than just words on paper. It must be personal, real." She finished with the armor and stepped back. "Are you ready to learn Varkosian combat?" Jack nodded. "Teach me." For hours, Caritha showed Jack the basic movements of Varkosian fighting. It was a style that used all four arms in flowing patterns like a deadly dance. Jack couldn't move that way, of course, but he learned to recognize the patterns, to anticipate them. In return, he showed Caritha Earth's martial arts. She was a quick learner, adapting human techniques to her four-armed body. By the end of the day, they had created something new. A fighting style that combined Varkosian grace with human unpredictability. "Tomorrow we face the test," Caritha said as they finished training. "3 of my father's best warriors will fight us at once." Jack wiped sweat from his face. 3 against 2? That hardly seems fair." Caritha smiled, and Jack realized he was starting to like that smile. "No, it's not fair at all. For them." The arena was packed with Varkosians. Their blue skin caught the morning light as they filled the stone seats surrounding the fighting circle. Jack stood in the center beside Caritha, feeling the weight of hundreds of golden eyes upon them. "Remember what we practiced," Caritha said quietly. "Let them come to us. Use their size against them." Jack nodded. His heart beat fast, but he wasn't afraid. After days in the wilderness and hours of training, he felt ready. More than that, he trusted. Caritha. The thought surprised him. Just days ago, she had thrown a spear at his chest. The chieftain stood from his seat at the top of the arena. Today we witnessed the second trial of the bond between Caritha, daughter of Varkos, and Jack, son of Earth. His voice carried easily across the arena. "They will face 3 of our finest warriors in combat." A gate opened on the far side of the arena. 3 massive Varkosians walked out. Each stood over 8 feet tall, their blue skin covered in battle scars. They carried different weapons, one a long staff, one a curved blade, and one a set of metal claws that fit over his hands. "Those are the elite sun guards," Caritha whispered. "They've never been defeated in the arena." "There's a first time for everything," Jack replied, trying to sound confident. The three warriors took positions around Jack and Caritha, forming a triangle. Jack and Caritha stood back to back in the center. The chieftain raised his hand. Begin. The warrior with the staff attacked first, swinging his weapon in a wide arc. Jack ducked under it, feeling the air move above his head. At the same time, Caritha leaped over the blade of the second warrior. They moved as they had practiced, staying close, covering each other's weaknesses. When the warrior with claws lunged at Jack, Caritha deflected the attack with her lower arms, while striking with her upper ones. Jack used his smaller size and quicker movements to confuse the larger warriors. He never stayed still, forcing them to constantly adjust their positions, creating openings for Caritha to exploit. The crowd watched in silence at first, then began to murmur as the fight continued. They had expected a quick victory for the Sun Guards. Instead, they saw something new. A human and a Varkosian fighting as one. "Now!" Caritha called. Jack dropped to the ground as she had taught him. Caritha used his back as a platform, launching herself at the staff wielder. Her forearms worked in perfect harmony, striking key points on his body. The warrior fell to one knee. Jack rolled away from a swing of the curved blade, then used a move Caritha had shown him. He kicked sand into the warrior's eyes, temporarily blinding him. While the warrior was distracted, Jack struck the sensitive area behind his knee joint, just as Caritha had taught him. The warrior with the claws roared in anger. He charged at Jack, all four arms extended, claws gleaming in the sunlight. Jack stood his ground until the last moment, then stepped aside, using the warrior's momentum to guide him into the path of the blade wielder, who was just recovering his vision. The two warriors collided. Jack didn't waste the opportunity. He moved in, striking precise points that disabled rather than injured. It was a human technique that Caritha had been fascinated by, how to win without causing permanent harm. Across the arena, Caritha had gained the upper hand against the staff wielder. She moved with a grace that Jack still found breathtaking, her body flowing like water around the staff's strikes. The crowd was cheering now, some for the Sun Guards, others for the unlikely pair in the center. Jack could hear Diane and the other humans calling his name. The fight continued for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Jack's muscles burned and sweat dripped into his eyes. But he didn't slow down. He and Caritha moved in perfect sync, anticipating each other's moves as if they had trained together for years. Finally, the last Sun Guard fell. The staff wielder dropped to his knees, his weapon clattering to the ground. The arena erupted in cheers. Jack stood beside Caritha, both breathing hard but victorious. The chieftain rose to his feet, his face showing surprise and pride. "The second trial is complete. They have passed." That night there was another feast, bigger than before. Jack sat at the high table, his body sore but his spirit light. Varkosians kept coming to their table, bowing to both him and Caritha, offering, "Congratulations. You fought well," the chieftain told Jack. "No human has ever defeated a Sun Guard, let alone 3. "I didn't do it alone," Jack said, looking at Caritha. She met his gaze, her golden eyes warm. "No, we did it together." After the feast, they walked through the gardens behind the palace. Strange plants glowed in the darkness, casting soft light on the paths. "One more trial," Jack said. "What is it?" Caritha sat on a stone bench beneath a tree with luminous blue leaves. "The third trial tests our understanding of each other. We must each create a gift that represents what we have learned about the other's culture." Jack sat beside her. "That sounds easier than fighting 3 giant warriors." "In some ways, it's harder." Caritha looked up at the twin moons of Varkos. "Fighting is simple. Understanding is complex." They talked for hours in the garden. Caritha told Jack about growing up as Jack sat in the small room the Varkosians had given him. His mind raced as he tried to make sense of what had happened. One minute he was a diplomat, the next he was engaged to an alien princess who hated him. The door slid open, and Commander Diane Peters walked in. Her face was serious, but Jack thought he saw a hint of amusement in her eyes. "How bad is it?" Jack asked. Diane sat down across from him. "I've spoken with our cultural experts and the Varkosian elders. This ancient law is no joke to them, Jack. It's one of their most sacred traditions. But she tried to kill me. Actually, no. If she wanted you dead, you would be. Caritha is their finest warrior. Diane paused. The spear throw was a test. No one has ever caught it before. It's thrown at honored guests to test their reflexes and courage. So what happens now? According to their laws, you and Caritha must complete 3 trials to finalize your bond. If you refuse or fail, it would be a terrible insult to their entire culture. Jack ran his hands through his short brown hair. And what does Earth say about this? Diane smiled without humor. Earth says do whatever it takes to secure this alliance. The Varkosians have technology we need, Jack. Their weapons could help us against the Centauri threat. So I'm just supposed to marry an alien who hates me? For now, yes. Diane stood up. Think of it as an extended diplomatic mission. One with unusual benefits. After Diane left, Jack tried to rest. But his sleep was interrupted by the door, sliding open again. This time Caritha stood in the doorway. She had changed from her ceremonial armor into simpler clothes, but she still looked fierce. We need to talk, human, she said, stepping into the room. Jack sat up. I have a name. It's Jack. I don't care what your name is. Caritha paced the room, all 4 of her arms tense. I need to know how you did it. Did what? Caught the spear. No one has ever caught it. Not in 1,000 ceremonies. Jack shrugged. I was a SEAL. Special Forces. We're trained to react quickly. Caritha stopped pacing and looked at him. I think you knew. Someone told you about the law of Jarektai. You caught the spear on purpose to force this bond. Jack laughed, which only made Caritha's golden eyes narrow further. Trust me, the last thing I wanted was to get married on my first day on your planet, especially to someone who tried to skewer me. It was not meant to hit you, Caritha said, though Jack wasn't sure he believed her. The sacred spear is thrown close to show we trust our guests not to fear us. Well, next time maybe warn a guy before you throw pointy objects at him. They stared at each other in silence. Jack noticed that Caritha's blue skin had patterns that seemed to shift slightly, like waves on water. The first trial begins tomorrow, Caritha finally said. Be ready at dawn. She turned to leave. Wait. Jack called. What's the trial? Caritha looked back at him. Survival. And then she was gone. The next morning, Jack met Caritha and her father outside the city. The sun was just rising, painting the red landscape with golden light. The first trial is simple, the chieftain explained. You and Caritha must survive 3 days in the Whispering Plains. You will have only basic supplies. Jack looked at the vast red plains stretching before them. In the distance, he could see strange, twisted trees and large rock formations. What should we watch out for? Jack asked. The chieftain smiled. The plants that move, the beasts that hunt at night, the storms that come without warning. He placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. But mostly, watch out for each other. That is the point of this trial. Caritha strapped a small pack to her back. She handed a similar one to Jack. Try not to die, human. It would be embarrassing for both of us. They set off across the plains. The twin sons of Varkos beat down on them, making Jack grateful for the cooling suit he wore under his clothes. Caritha moved with ease, her long legs covering ground quickly. For hours they walked in silence. Jack tried several times to start a conversation, but Caritha only gave short answers or ignored him completely. By midday, they reached a small grove of twisted trees. Their bark was deep purple, and their leaves shimmered with an iridescent blue. We'll rest here, Caritha said. The trees provide shelter from the suns. Jack sat down, grateful for the break. He took a drink from his water container and offered it to Caritha. She looked at it with suspicion. It's just water, he said. After a moment, she took it and drank. Thank you, she said, the words sounding strange from her, as if rarely used. So, Jack said, since we're stuck together for 3 days, maybe we could try to get along. Caritha studied him. Why did your people come to Varkos? to form an alliance. Earth needs allies in this part of space. Because of the Centauri? Jack nodded. They've attacked 3 of our colonies already. We need help to fight them. Caritha was quiet for a moment. The Centauri have been our enemies for generations. They tried to invade Varkos twice. Then we have something in common, Jack said. We both want to stop them. Before Caritha could respond, a low rumble shook the ground. She jumped to her feet, all 4 arms tensed. What is it? Jack asked, standing as well. Rock beast, Caritha whispered. They hunt by feeling vibrations. In the ground, don't move, Jack froze. Through the trees, he saw something moving. It looked like a boulder at first, but then it uncurled. It had thick, stone-like skin and 6 powerful legs. Its head was nothing but a massive jaw with grinding teeth. The beast sniffed the air, then began moving toward them. Its steps made the ground shake. It smells us, Caritha said. We need to split up. You go right, I'll go left. It can only chase one of us. And if it chases you? Then I'll kill it. Caritha pulled a small blade from her boot. It looked tiny compared to the monster approaching them. Jack shook his head. Bad plan. We stick together. He looked around quickly, then pointed to a nearby rock formation. Those rocks. If we can get up high, it might not be able to follow. Caritha looked skeptical but nodded. On my mark. Ready? Now. They ran toward the rocks. The beast roared and charged after them. Its massive body crushed the purple trees like twigs. Jack reached the rocks first and began to climb. He turned and held out his hand to Caritha. For a second she hesitated. Then she grabbed his hand with her upper right arm. He pulled her up just as the beast slammed into the rocks below. They climbed higher, finding a ledge about 20 feet up. The rock beast circled below, smashing its body against the stone in frustration. It will leave eventually, Caritha said, breathing hard. Once it can't feel our vibrations. Jack nodded, then noticed blood dripping from her lower left arm. You're hurt. Caritha looked at the cut as if just noticing it. It's nothing. Jack opened his pack and took out a small med kit. Let me help. Our medicine might work differently on your physiology, but cleaning a wound is universal. To his surprise, Caritha held out her injured arm. As Jack cleaned and bandaged the cut, he felt her watching him carefully. Why are you helping me? She asked. I tried to throw a spear at you yesterday, Jack smiled. Where I come from, even if someone throws a spear at you, you don't let them bleed. For the first time, Caritha's face softened slightly. It wasn't quite a smile, but it was close. They stayed on the ledge until sunset, watching as the rock beast finally gave up and lumbered away. As night fell, bringing a chill to the air, they huddled together for warmth. Tomorrow will be harder, Caritha said softly. We must cross the Singing Sands. Why are they called that? Jack asked. Caritha looked at him, her golden eyes reflecting the starlight. Because those who die there say the sands sing to them before they take their last breath. Jack swallowed hard. Great. Looking forward to it. As they settled in for the night, Jack realized that Caritha no longer seemed to be plotting his immediate death. It wasn't much, but it was progress. Chaos filled the palace as warriors prepared for battle. Jack followed Caritha to the war room, where the chieftain and other leaders gathered around a large holographic display showing the Draxul ships approaching Varkos. 7 warships, the chieftain said grimly. More than their last attack. Our defenses are stronger now, Caritha countered, and we have new allies. She looked at Jack. Diane and the other human delegates entered the war room. The USS Horizon is responding to our distress call, Diane said. Captain Rogers says they can be here in 6 hours. The Draxul will reach us in 4, a Varkosian general replied. We must hold them off until your ship arrives. Jack studied the holographic display. The Draxul ships were arranged in a standard attack formation he recognized from Earth's military history. They're planning to split their forces, he said. Some will attack the city while others target your defense systems. The Varkosians looked at him with surprise. Caritha nodded. He's right. That's their usual strategy. Then we need to change our usual defense, Jack suggested. He pointed to areas on the map. If we position your fighters here and here, we can force them to commit to a single approach. For the next hour, they planned their defense. Jack was impressed by the Varkosian military knowledge, and they seemed equally impressed by his tactical suggestions. Together, they created a plan that combined Varkosian strength with human adaptability. Caritha will lead the ground defense, the chieftain announced. Jack will assist her. Caritha handed Jack a set of Varkosian battle armor modified to fit his human body. This will protect you better than your earth clothing. As Jack put on the armor, he felt its weight. Not just the physical weight, but what it represented. He was no longer just a diplomat. He was a warrior of Varkos now. Diane caught him alone, before he left for his position. "Remember your primary mission," she said quietly. "Earth needs this alliance." Jack nodded. "Don't worry. After today, I think the alliance will be stronger than ever." The city prepared for attack. Citizens moved to underground shelters while warriors took their positions. Jack stood with Caritha on the outer wall watching the sky. The weapon he had made for her hung at her side. "Are you afraid?" Caritha asked. "Yes," Jack answered honestly. "But fear keeps you sharp." Caritha surprised him by taking his hand in one of hers. "When this is over, we must decide about our bond. The trials are complete, but tradition allows us one chance to dissolve it if we both agree." Before Jack could respond, the alarm sounded. In the sky, dark shapes appeared through the clouds. Draxel ships, sleek and predatory. "Here they come," Caritha said, releasing his hand and drawing her weapon. The first wave of attackers came on small, fast ships that fired energy weapons at the city's defenses. Varkosian gun towers returned fire, shooting down several attackers. But more kept coming. The Draxel landed outside the city walls. Jack got his first look at them as they charged toward the gates. They were tall reptilian creatures with gray-green skin and forearms like the Varkosians. But their faces were more alien, with no visible eyes and mouths full of needle-like teeth. "They're trying to breach the main gate," Caritha called. Just as you predicted, Jack and Caritha led a group of warriors to defend the gate. They fought side by side, using the techniques they had developed together. Jack's smaller size and quicker movements complemented Caritha's strength and reach. Together, they cut through the Draxel forces. The battle raged for hours. The Draxel kept coming in waves, testing the city's defenses from different angles. But the plan Jack had helped create was working. The attackers couldn't find a weakness to exploit. As the twin suns began to set, a new sound filled the air. A massive Draxel ship larger than the others descended toward the city. Its weapons were aimed at the palace. "The command ship," Caritha said, fear in her voice for the first time. "My father is in the palace." Jack looked at the ship, then at the tired warriors around them. "We need to take it out before it can fire." "How?" "Our guns can't penetrate its shields," Jack thought quickly. "There." He pointed to a Varkosian air vessel nearby. "Can you fly that?" Caritha nodded. "Of course." "Then let's go." "I have an idea." They sprinted to the vessel, a sleek craft with powerful engines. Caritha jumped into the pilot's seat while Jack examined the weapon systems. "These energy cannons are too weak," he said, "but if we can get close enough, maybe we can board them." Caritha looked at him like he was crazy. "Board the command ship? That's suicide." "Not if we use their own tactics against them." Jack explained his plan quickly. It was risky, but it might work. Caritha started the engines. "If we die, I'm going to be very angry with you." Jack smiled. "Noted." The Varkosian vessel shot into the sky, heading straight for the Draxel command ship. Enemy fighters immediately moved to intercept them, but Caritha's piloting skills were incredible. She weaved through enemy fire, spinning and diving in ways that made Jack's stomach turn. They reached the massive command ship. Its surface was dark and smooth with few obvious entry points. "There," Jack pointed. "That looks like a docking port." Caritha guided their vessel toward it. "They're going to shoot us down before we reach it." No, they won't. Jack opened a communication channel. Draxel command ship, this is Jack Mason of Earth. We surrender our vessel and request permission to dock. Caritha looked at him in shock. What are you doing? Trust me, Jack whispered. To their surprise, the enemy fire ceased. The docking port opened. They're curious about humans, Jack explained. They want to see what we are. Or they want to eat you, Caritha muttered. They docked with the command ship. As the airlock opened, Jack and Caritha readied their weapons. They were met by a group of Draxel soldiers, their weapons aimed at the newcomers. Remember, Jack whispered to Caritha, like we practiced in the arena. What happened next was a blur of motion. Jack and Caritha moved as one, their fighting styles perfectly merged. The Draxel, expecting easy prey, were caught off guard. Within minutes, the greeting party lay unconscious or disabled. This way, Caritha said, leading Jack through the ship. The command center will be at the center. They fought their way through the ship using stealth when possible and their combined fighting skills when necessary. Jack was amazed at how naturally they worked together now, anticipating each other's moves without speaking. Finally, they reached the command center. The doors were sealed, but Caritha used a Varkosian device to override the lock. The doors slid open to reveal a large room filled with Draxel officers and their leader, a massive creature with ornate armor. Now what? Caritha whispered. Jack pulled out a small device Diane had given him before the battle. Now we use Earth technology. Before the Draxel could react, Jack activated the device. A high-pitched sound filled the room, causing the Draxel to clutch their heads in pain. Their hidden ears, it seemed, were extremely sensitive. While the enemy was disoriented, Jack and Caritha moved quickly. They disabled the ship's weapon systems and locked the command crew in a storage room. We need to get back to our ship, Jack said. As they ran back through the corridors, the ship shuddered violently. Through a viewport, Jack saw the reason. The USS Horizon had arrived and was engaging the Draxel fleet. They reached their vessel and detached from the command ship, just as more explosions rocked it. The Draxel ships were retreating, their command, structure in disarray. Caritha piloted them back to the city. As they landed, cheers erupted from the Varkosian warriors. Word of their daring mission had spread. The chieftain was waiting for them, his face showing relief and pride. The Draxel are in full retreat. The human ship arrived earlier than expected. Jack smiled. Captain Rogers always was punctual. That night, as the city celebrated their victory, Jack and Caritha stood on the palace balcony looking at the stars. The Draxel ships were gone, only debris remaining in orbit. Your people fought well, Jack said. As did yours. Caritha touched the weapon Jack had made for her. It served me well in battle. A perfect gift indeed. Jack looked at her. In the moonlight, her blue skin seemed to glow. The patterns he had first noticed were more visible now, swirling designs that marked her royal status. The trials are complete, he said, and tradition allows us to dissolve our bond if we both agree. Caritha was quiet for a moment. Is that what you want? Jack thought about the past weeks, the fear and anger of their first meeting, the tentative trust in the wilderness, the sink they found while fighting, the understanding that had grown between them. No, he said simply. It's not what I want. Caritha's golden eyes met his. Nor is it what I want. She took his hand in one of hers. With another, she touched his face gently. When I threw that spear, I never imagined this outcome. Life has a way of surprising you, Jack said, smiling. Sometimes you just have to catch what it throws at you. The next day, a formal alliance was signed between Earth and Varkos. The chieftain and the Earth ambassador shook hands while Jack and Caritha stood nearby, symbols of what the alliance could become. Caritha will return to Earth with you as our ambassador, the chieftain told Jack, and you will return to us often as Earth's representative. Jack nodded. I look forward to. Later, as they prepared for the journey to Earth, Caritha looked nervous for the first time since Jack had met her.